Good morning. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to today's symposium on local identity in the global community, creating peace in the 21st century. Today's symposium was made possible by generous support and donations of several, and I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge them. They include the State of Hawaii Office of International Relations, the CamB Matsunaga Institute for Peace, and the School for Hawaiian and Asian Pacific Studies at the University of Hawaii, the Hawaii Prince Hotel, the Kahala Hilton Hotel, Martel Creative Communication, United Airlines, Senator Matt Matsunaga, Mr. Ahilia Antari, and the East-West Center. I'd also like to briefly introduce today's moderator and panelists to my left. First, the distinguished professor of Chinese history and philosophy at Harvard University and a longtime friend of the East-West Center, Dr. Du-Wei Ming, Ms. Pualani Kanahele from the island of Hawaii, and Dr. And now, it is my great honor and privilege to introduce an internationally recognized scholar and author, the winner of the 1989 Nobel Prize for Peace, the spiritual leader of the Tibetan people, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. Presenting His Holiness with a lei and scarf were Karma Lekshi Somo, the Executive Director of the Committee for His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Hawaii. His Holiness will speak to us on the subject of interdependence and compassion, peace in the 21st century. Will you again please rise and join me in welcoming His Holiness to Honolulu.
India Chudunanegi and Kawana set and the Kundudam Fishari and Kasan Lotalia and I'm Hangudi Yadi to and Kudu Hala to start with the Kakawasuna to the
Distinguished co-panelists and guests, it is a great pleasure for me to have this opportunity to participate in this symposium, and I would like to first of all express my appreciation for all those who have been involved in organizing this event.
And the Kuduna had the Naranjitawada to catch up with the and the way in the that don't believe the they are beautiful charge. But this is the warrior, and now Jimmy Stakangan said, Disney catch catchable in Munity. That is the reason that they are the Tundu Chiari, Takudu Chiari, English point than a Chakao.
I am particularly happy to participate in this symposium because the theme of this symposium is something that is very dear to my heart and also something that I have thought about a lot, which is the interdependence and also the need for global community and global responsibility. Because as we know, the world we are living in is becoming more and more interdependent and interconnected. And in this light, the need to reflect on our responsibilities as members of the global community becomes ever more important.
Now I will try to speak to my own broken English. First, I would like to give you some kind of warning there. Because of my vocabulary very limited, and also sometimes there is danger. It is possible. When I use a certain term, but in my mind, maybe different meaning. So therefore, you should be very careful. Now, it is quite nature. From the Buddhist viewpoint, every sentient being, and particularly the human being, there is innate desire for happiness, for satisfaction. That is there. If you ask why it happened, then there is no answer. It is nature. And also, on this planet, including human being, there are many species of sentient beings who live and survive on this planet. That also is in nature. Now the basic thing is, because of that reason, because of that desire, through centuries or through generations, we always try to improve our quality of our life, and also because of the human beings' intelligence, we also thinking or visualize about in long-term future. So accordingly, we plan. So that is, I think, the special significance about the human case. Now today, the external means, that means technology, through technology, I think human ability much increased. And as a result, we also get various different ideas or ideologies from other parts of the world. Because of these, the technology or the facility which immediately brings the different ideas, the different systems come to our own place. And then also I think because of the economy situation and also population, we very much interrelated. So that's the reality. Then basically, the human being, because of this is intelligence, right? This is right. There is when we touch some new things, then immediately it gives it makes some kind of imprint in our mind, and then according to our own local circumstances or our own past experiences, new ideas, new desires sometimes develop. So itself, I believe, is very precious, very good. Because of that, the new initiative comes, and more new initiative, more development. But at the same time, sometimes that kind of nature, right, that kind of tendency also sometimes creates problem. After all, I think because of human intelligence or thinking power, right, even within one human being, there are a lot of contradictions or different thoughts which contradict each other. And also, again, because of human intelligence, there is a possibility or there is capacity to overcome, from these contradictions. So one way, without contradiction, no progress. At the same time, without proper mechanism to overcome these conflict or contradiction, there also is a possibility of crisis or trouble, even within one human being. If you develop some kind of different opinions within oneself, if you fail to resolve, then sometimes mental crisis. If you have the capacity to analyze these different thought, different ideas, and arrange adjust oneself with these different ideas, different thoughts, then that becomes inner state. So go that reality. I think the similar situation in family or in the community or national level or international level. And then I think that's quite a nature thing. Now I believe that now we are entering the 21st century. Due to, I think, today advanced development, I think the humanity today, I think we have, greater potential, whether we whether we bring to bright and happy future or more disturbing future. It is in our own hand. So I think we are
We're at a turning point, a threshold.
So, so sometimes I noticed some people have the feeling that the future of humanity is rather doomed.
Gloomy.
And some people seem to have a feeling of too much of a desperation, feeling, and more pessimistic attitude. I think that is dangerous, because if our attitude become more pessimistic attitude, then even if it's small things, then will increase, or even if it's small as a problem, will increase and finally become out of control. Other side, in spite of many difficulties, the serious nature or serious of the problems, if we remain with optimism, and determination. Of course, B is more realistic. Meantime is realistic, and more patience. Yes, we always can find some ways to overcome these problems. So, firstly, self-confidence with also hope, with determination is very essential. Then second, in order to utilize human intelligence, human ability properly or constructively, the most important factor is good heart, compassionate motivation. That is almost like a guarantee for human activities becoming constructive. So our intelligence alone, our knowledge alone, there is no guarantee whether it can be destructive or constructive. Even personal level. So we often used to find the individual who have very good education background, who have very, very intelligent brain, yet very unhappy person. And as a result, due to the individual inner world, very unhappy, very unrest, so it always creates uncomfortable within their own family or within their own community. So it took intelligence without proper motivation. It becomes something, the destroyer of happiness, oneself as well as others. So for such cases, that knowledge become troublemaker rather than solving trouble. So while we are caring about the brain development, equally important to take care about the basic, the spiritual development. When I use this spirituality, not necessarily a particular religion. No, without any religion, it can be a good person. They are spiritual. When we talk about spirituality, there can be two levels. One, including these different religious ideas, religious faith. But in any case, religious idea come later in our life. In a lifetime, religion comes later. But right from the beginning, from the day of birth, we already experienced and already we, I think, survived on one thing. That's human affection. So the human affection is, I think, right from the beginning, we fully experienced. And usually, I often used to be telling, telling my friend, the teacher or guru, although he teach us the loving kindness or compassion, these things, but these, comes later. Now, for example, in my own case, I think when my age reached, say, 6, 7, and later, it become more serious than around 10, 15 years. So much later. But the first experience about human affection, that's from my first day of my birth. So mother is I think the first teacher of compassion or the human affection. So that is, if we think, if we analyze properly, then we can feel and we can understand the value of that affection. So the religion comes later, but the basic human, the good quality, these are right from the beginning. So therefore there are two levels of spirituality. One from birth, that's more or less human nature, part of human nature. Then second, on that basis of that human nature, good quality of human nature, on that basis, religion simply, to me, seems religion simply strengthening these basic human good quality. So when I say this is spirituality, is the basic human compassionate motivation of feeling. That's very crucial. So with the good brain and that kind of human human affection or human feeling, these two things go together, then our intelligence or our ability become constructive. That's quite clear. Now I would like to touch some particular points, specific points. Now, firstly, now today there are many. I think one factor which eventually creates many problems. That is human population. It becomes, to my mind, it becomes very serious when I saw the miseries in many parts of the world, and particularly in developing countries or poorer countries. One factor which is damaging, which creates problem of ecology, problem of the economy, food, and also the problem of inner fighting, communal fightings. One major factor is the human population. Now, obviously, this gap, northerner and southerner, this gap, not only morally wrong, but practically it is a source of problem. And then ecology problem in these underdeveloped or developing nations, when people really fight for their survival. On that occasion, it's very difficult to tell them the preservation of forests or these things. It's obvious. Now, when the subject about the population, now the crucial thing is birth control. So, from the Buddhist viewpoint, of course, we consider each individual human life is precious. Therefore, it is naturally worthwhile or better avoid birth control. Yet, now the reality, the precious life now become too much. So not question of individual precious life, but entire precious life now facing problem. So now different circumstances. So logically, in order to save the entire precious life of human being, this is now worthwhile to think seriously about the birth control. But birth control here is a non-violent way. Sometimes I'm jokingly telling people the best thing is more monk, more nun. That's the way. So in any way, there's a non-violent method birth control is highly today necessary, important. So one thing. The second thing, now ecology. Now, it became very serious, so it became very important because, you see, according to my own little experience, they, like war, this immediately is striking on our mind. So absolutely, spontaneous, you see, response, you see, come. But then, you see, the ecology problem, without much, you see, notice, it comes gradually. When we realize things become really, you see, when you really, you see, feel it's difficult to breathe, or you see some kind of the clear symptoms come due to the pollution, because of polluted water or polluted air, then might be too late. So therefore, taking care about ecology is really, from that aspect, it becomes very, very serious. So each individual should have on that.
Should accustom themselves.
They taking care about the ecology is something very, very crucial factor. Then perhaps I think another is a problem now. I think it's due to economy and also I think the main economy. You see this at the time this is some I think very bright-minded people felt if humanity is organized well, even if it's worthwhile sacrifice individual freedom, it's well organized, that can transform the whole society. So it's that idea, from that idea, dictatorship, authoritarian system developed. But now, it's more or less, I think that conviction also now fading away. Disbelief. I think it is quite logical. As I mentioned before, each individual initiative is the basis of progress. Without individual initiative, difficult to transform whole society or develop. So it's under authoritarian system. There is no opportunity to come out each individual initiative. So as a result, that system now practically it become very clear now difficult. So that's gone. Yeah. Now another category of problem is when each individual or the community, if they have the opportunity of freedom of speech, the freedom of thought, and also due to the closer relation with other peoples. So I think the realization of one's own identity, or importance of one's own identity, one's own culture, identity, or I think one's own identity, which based on culture, one's own culture, and religion, particularly I think culture. Basically, without culture, then you see that human being, I think in other words, you see, culture is one of the very important aspects of human being. So you see, culture is very important. And then the culture, individual culture, developed according to you see, the particular area, the including climate, or you see, the food habit, all due to these factors, this is certain way of life, certain way of thinking, certain culture developed. So you see, the culture, each place is because of, you see, the sort of natural evolution. So it is something very fit, and that is a particular people or particular area. So it is very useful, you see, to preserve, and I mean, it is very useful to that community. So therefore, it is worthwhile, or logically, it is very important to preserve. At the same time, now when we concern about one's own particular identity, culture, these things, then there also, you see, the danger of tendency, isolate from the rest of the community. And sometimes there's too much emphasis on the particular thing. It also sometimes has become the source of conflict with other. It seems now here also, you see, that situation becomes reality. Now, for example, in my own case, the one way I always was telling people, and I firmly believe humanity, basically, just the same, just one human family. Each individual nation actually is belong to that big human family. So different culture, different race, these are secondary. And in fact today, due to economy, due to education, these factors, they now entire world now much closer. In fact, world become much smaller in certain aspects. So under such circumstances, the realization of belief or realization of oneness of human being is very, very crucial, very important. In the term of the present happiness, or the happiness of present generation, and happiness and future generation. You see, that is the basis. On that basis, the sense of global responsibility is the only, I think, the only key factor for better future. If we think, you see, only my nation, and if we create artificial as a boundary, boundaries or artificial gap, border, or I don't know. This is a sort of barrier, the artificial barrier, is my nation, that nation, and think only yourself, and forget about the other. The reality, you will suffer because your economy, your very existence much depends on other. Therefore, there is no point to neglect about others' interest. So the reality, my interest is others' interest. Others' interest is my interest. That's the reality. So you see, the other nation, even including your own enemy, the more prosperity, more economic development is ultimately bring benefit to you. So that's the reality. So under such circumstances, and then I think the global issue such as ecology. No matter what powerful, say one or two nations cannot solve this problem unless the worldwide people, worldwide nation, make effort. So therefore, the reality, many problems is actually the global nature. Therefore, time is gone. As you think in terms of my nation or my continent, I think that view, that attitude is now old-fashioned. In ancient time, yes, because of your existence, exist independently. No need, others, cooperation on. So therefore, at that time, it is the right term, my nation, different. my nation. So you see these castles or these fortresses, these developed. Now today, there has the age of missile. Then you see, because of fortresses, castles, these are really become now target. It's much better to remain underneath. So that's the situation. So you see, similarly, you see the situation, the reality must change. So the method also must change. So that today, I think the idea of think humanity as the one, that's very crucial. So I believe it, and of course, as a Buddhist monk, in my every prayer, a daily prayer, they use the word of entire sentient being. So when I think, if this is something truly I believe, then I must implement. It is not sufficient when I am sitting cross-legged on a cushion and say all sentient beings. When my practice think only Tibetan, that's wrong. That's hypocrisy. So therefore, you see, from that perspective, yes, now they thinking one's own family, one's own nation, that is now gone. So it is realistically, it is time now, think others' interest as my own interest. So that's the time. Meantime, because of the present situation, I also stress the importance of preservation of Tibetan culture, Tibetan identity. So here's some conflict. So I myself try to find an answer for that. Then the answer is look, our own hand, each finger. Oh, there is special identity, and according to identity, and also each individual finger has this special ability. I think this is more stronger. You see, even these four fingers together, this have to face. So each have some kind of special roles. But meantime, there is no conflict. Each carry its own responsibility and work together. So it becomes much useful. I think all this similar finger, I think the thumb. If it's a 5 thumb, I don't know. maybe it's better if this individual. Oh, this is very difficult to do like that. This is much easier. So each one is special for the quality. More beautiful and more useful. So similarly, I think human being. Each individual identity, each individual cultural heritage, very useful. Meantime, work together. On the now human beings, human case, human is motivation. These no motivation. Human being has motivation. So therefore, that is the problem. Motivated think in the term of we, they. Now that creates problem. Reality all depend on one another, but mentally still make that barrier, artificial barrier. So once mentally we realize things are very much interdependent nature, then the different ideology, different identity, and keeping these alive. Meantime, clearly realize the sameness or the interdependent nature, entire people, entire country or nation or the humanity. So then we can overcome. We can find, I think, some kind of ways to keep individual identity. Meantime, the cooperate or coordination, the spirit of work together for mutual respect. Realize mutual respect, not sort of compulsory, but mutual respect on the basis of realization. My interest, their interest is mixed. So I think they must depend on education. I found in Europe that when I asked some younger people, what is their feeling towards next country, neighbor, they often I got the answer. Not much differences. They go buy a car. Some cases even it's daily basis. But it's a different language. It's a different borders post there. But in mentally, because of their daily experiences, more or less it's the same. Same country or city, the feeling of just one. And also I think recently, after the two Germans reunification, now I was told between Poland and unified with Germany, now there is no requirement of visas or these things. People simply can cross the border without difficulties. Like one's own country. So these area, because of I think less tension, and then the tourist and also the economy reasons. Now the feeling of border, feeling of importance of border, has now become less and less. So some area, in spite of the difficulties, the border becomes something very sacred. So I think through education, through proper presentation about the reality, I think we can increase the realization of oneness and realization of interdependent nature. And also I think much depend on the religious leaders and also the politicians, no doubt. So, and then regarding the religions, sometimes although religions, various different religious traditions, they provide us a good heart, right? Or concept of love and compassion, forgiveness. So suppose the different religious tradition, they provide us the spirit of harmony or unity. But sometimes the religion also becomes another factor to create more division. That's very unfortunate. But now here also, if we constant meeting or exchange, according to my own little experience, one effective method is constant meeting between scholars from different religious traditions and discuss about what is the differences, what similarities on academic level. Then another thing, the genuine practitioner of different religious traditions come together, exchange their deeper spiritual experiences. Different concept, different philosophy, but more or less the same experiences. I found many cases, same experiences, experience of genuine love and compassion and spirit of forgiveness. So the exchange between genuine practitioners, it extremely helpful to develop mutual understanding. On these basis, occasionally leaders of different religions come together. Like one time Assisi meeting like that. It's very beneficial. And then actually, I think, you see, it is becoming, sorry, what's the day? The spirit of sort of, what's the day? Pluralism among the religious tradition. Now, it is becoming, I think it is very, very positive as a sign. In ancient time, you see, the people of different religious followers remain more or less isolated. So at that time, you see, there's certain idea, my religion is best. You see, that idea is useful and okay. But now today, you see, all you see, they almost you see, in daily, you see, we have contact with followers of other religious tradition. Under such circumstances, now that kind of attitude now is not fit. So the idea of pluralism is something very crucial matter. So that spirit now actually is coming in various different religious groups. So if we make further effort, there is possibility. It's a variety of religions, and at the same time to work together without conflict. So that's very possible. So so these are these are the points which I believe is connected with the future of humanity. So therefore, thank you. Now
Thank you very much for your enlightening thoughts. The next speaker is our own Polani Kanahele, a Hawaiian, a kumopula, an instructor of Hawaiian language and culture, and activist in maintaining the integrity of Hawaiian spirituality. And for many of us who have the privilege of knowing her as a teacher and friend, a standard of inspiration for seekers of profound self-knowledge and holistic flourishing of the body and mind. Please share with us, Polani, your thoughts on the peaceful surrender.
To His Holiness, the Dalai Lama of Tibet, aloha. Belinamai, from our ancestors, na kupuna o ke aina, na poe o ke aina, the people that live on this land at this time, na aumakua, ame na akua o mako, our guardians, our spiritual guardians who are with us at this time. We welcome you to these islands. And we will ask them to be with you as you take your trip around our island and guide you safely. To Chandra Mazfar, aloha ya oi, we welcome you to our islands. Na kupuna o mako, na poe o Hawaii, na kua na aumakua, aloha ya oi. To Due Ming, an old friend, welcome you back to our islands. Nice, always nice to see you and to hear your smart words. Smart guy. And I'd like to say to His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, that despite the fact that I have lived in this English-speaking country for 40 years plus, I still have a problem with the language. And so sometimes I may speak in my broken English and feel comfortable with it. I'd like to look at this title of Local Identity in the Global Community, Creating Peace in the 21st Century. That in itself is a talk, just that by itself. The thought that I would like to, first of all, look at the idea of local identity, because that is what I am most familiar with. And I'd like to be able to look at who we are as Hawaiians and maybe the examples of who we are and what we've come to be, maybe examples for the global community. Whether to follow or whether to stay away from, we are nevertheless at the examples. I'd like to be able to say a little bit about, tell you a little bit about our history, and because most of us are from these islands, we've heard our history over and over and over again. Nevertheless, this history is from my eyes, from the eyes of my ancestors, from our point of view. Our Polynesian ancestors sailed to Hawaii from southern Polynesia almost 2,000 years ago. They came on small canoes. They didn't have room for luxury items. They were very, very simple people, and they brought with them tools of survival. And so I'm going to maintain the topic of survival and picking up again from His Holiness speech, his comments on survival, because it's important for who we are in our survival thus far in our islands. Their tools of survival were the food and medicinal plants that they brought with them. Their tools of survival was their belief system that they were very strong in. Their tools of survival was the traditional family practices which they brought along with them. Also the code of ethics as to how they would treat each other, code of ethics as to how they would treat their environment. They brought with them their intelligence, something that was greatly admired. And last but certainly not least, they brought with them their hands, their hard-working hands. When they arrived in these islands, they were greeted by what I call Nakupa o Ka'aina. Nakupa o Ka'aina, I guess I can translate as being the natives of this island. Nakupa o Ka'aina was the sun, the moon, the stars, the winds, the ocean, the coral beds, the land, the mountains, the trees, the volcano, the birds, the insects. Nakupa o Ka'aina didn't only greet them and forget about them. Nakupa o Ka'aina also helped feed them, also gave them warmth when they were cold. Nakupa o Ka'aina also extended their land. Nakupa o Ka'aina also clothed them. regulated their fishing and their planting systems or cycles. Nakupa o Ka'aina did not ask for anything back. This was something they had. This was something to be given. Our ancestors became so familiar with Nakupa o Ka'aina that they knew them by names. The wind that we have on the Big Island in Hilo, where I am from, the very calming wind, the very comfortable wind is the Malanai. They knew the Malanai when it blew, by its feel, by its touch. The rain that we very often hear, because we live in the forest area, that rattles the leaves as it is coming, and we know that it's coming, is Kanilehua. Aya no o Kanilehua, eya mai oya. There is a Kanilehua, it's coming, it's time to pick our clothes. We knew the Kanilehua. The rain that hits upon us in the saddle of our mountains is Kipu'upu. Wakes us up, makes us alert as to where we are and whose territory we are in, the fact that we must pay attention to it. These were Nakupa o Ka'aina. Our kupunas were very familiar with them, and it was very important for them to know these by name because they provided for them their resources. Their resources were things that helped them build their homes, as well as things that fed them. They were the sources of pure energy. Pure energy was important because they became the life force for our kupuna. They became their gods. They helped them survive in these islands. Population increased as time went by. And with the increase of the population also came the stratification of this population. So now there was a division. You had the elite of the society, you had the learned men, the kahunas, you had the poors, you had the maka'ainana. Along with these came the hierarchy of the gods. Very perplexed, very complex hierarchy of the gods. The more people we had, the more the division of the gods were necessary. So you had deities servicing the ali'i, deities servicing the maka'ainana.